Imagine moving into a new house and finding a box in the attic, containing real-life recordings of murders. That's exactly what happens in this movie Sinister, with an ending that won't let you sleep tonight. The film opens with grainy, disturbing Super 8 footage showing a family of 4 positioned together under a tree with hoods and nooses around their necks. An invisible figure cuts a branch, serving as a counterweight, causing everyone to be hanged. Several months later, Ellison Oswalt, a struggling true crime novelist, moves into the murdered family's house with his wife, Tracy, and their 2 young children, Ashley, a talented artist who is allowed to paint on her bedroom walls, and Trevor, who begins to experience strange night terrors immediately upon moving into the house. Only Ellison knows that the house they're moving into was the scene of the crime. Ellison intends to use the murders as inspiration for his new book and hopes his investigation reveals the fate of the 5th family member, a girl named Stephanie, who disappeared after the murders. In the attic, Ellison finds a box containing a projector and several rolls of 8mm footage, labeled as innocent home movies. Watching the films, Ellison discovers they are snuff films, showing families murdered in various ways, such as throats slit in bed, burned in a car, drowned in their pool, run over by a lawnmower, and the hanging that starts the movie. The drowning film is especially disturbing for Ellison, as he notices a demonic figure watching the victims from the bottom of the pool, before turning to the camera. Finally, Ellison finds the figure watching the murders in each of the films, along with a strange painted symbol. Inspecting the underside of the box lid containing the themes, Ellison discovers numerous crude drawings depicting the murders, along with crude drawings of the demonic figure, identified as Mr. Boogie. After consulting with a local deputy, Ellison discovers that the murders depicted in the films occurred at different times, starting in the 1960s and in different cities across the country. He also discovers that all the families were drugged before being murdered, and that one child from each family disappeared after each murder. The deputy refers Ellison to a local professor, Jonas, an expert in occult and demonic phenomena, to decipher the symbol from the films. Jonas explains to Ellison that the symbols represent a pagan deity named Buhul, who murdered entire families to take their children to his realm and consume their souls. One night, Ellison hears the movie projector running and goes up to the house's attic. There he finds the missing children in various states of decomposition watching one of the films. Buhul suddenly appears on camera before physically presenting himself to Ellison. Ellison takes the camera and the films to the backyard and burns them. Then he wakes up his family to tell them they're moving back to their old house. In his old home, Ellison receives a message from Professor Jonas, who sends him scans of historical drawings associated with Buhul. Each had been partially destroyed because ancient cultures believed Buhul lived within the images and that they acted as portals between his realm and the mortal world. Ellison then discovers the projector and the films in his attic, along with a new film envelope labeled as extended endings. During this time, the deputy tries to call several times, but Ellison never answers. The deputy's next call, while Ellison is preparing the films, he answers. The deputy informs him that he has discovered a connection between each murder. Every family had lived in the house where the last murder took place, and each new murder happened shortly after the family moved into their new home. By returning to his old house after living at the site of the previous murders, Ellison has put himself and his family in line to be the next victims. Then, Ellison watches the recording. He discovers it shows the missing children appearing on screen after each murder, revealing themselves as the killers before suddenly vanishing. Before he can react, Ellison gets dizzy. Inspecting his coffee mug, he finds a note that says, "Good night, Daddy," and a green liquid inside. Before losing consciousness, Ellison wakes up to find himself, his wife, and his son tied up and gagged. Ashley approaches with an 8mm camera and promises him she'll make him famous again. Ashley then proceeds to murder her family with an axe, using their blood to paint pictures of cats, dogs, and unicorns on the walls. Once her work is finished, Ashley adds a new drawing to the box lid with a sketch of Mr. Boogie. She watches the Super 8 film of her murders, which ends with an image of the missing children watching her. Buhul appears with his hands covered in green blood, causing the children to flee. He picks Ashley up in his arms and disappears into the film with her. The film concludes with an image of the film box in the Oswalt family's attic, now joined by a reel titled House Painting 12. Buhul suddenly appears, warning that the viewers are next. Sinister isn't just a scary story, it's a warning about ego, obsession, and the consequences of exploiting pain for personal gain. The protagonist, Ellison Oswalt, is not a classic hero. He's a man who, blinded by his ambition to write another bestseller, chooses to live in a house where a brutal murder occurred, hiding it from his family. He finds the tapes, sees the crimes, and instead of leaving, he stays. Not because he wants justice, but because he wants fame. The director shows us that true evil doesn't start with Buhul. It starts with the human choice to prioritize ambition over safety, to pursue the truth only when it's convenient. Every time Ellison gets closer to the mystery, he moves further from his family, from logic, and from his own humanity. Sinister reminds us that obsession can blind us to the point of ignoring what matters most. The protagonist doesn't die just because of an evil entity, but because he didn't know how to stop when he still could. The moral is simple. When you seek success at someone else's expense, even using others' pain, the price can be higher than you expect.